No problem. So, my name is Tarja Kupiainen and I wish you all welcome to our webinar. Good morning, everybody. I'm here to talk about train-the-trainers models and our experiences in that method. So, I would like to ask you one question before I start. Are you interested in that remote project and its results, or are you more interested in that train-the-trainers models and our experiences in using that train-the-trainers model we have developed?
The main interest, Tarja, is in the train-the-trainers concept, because it's something that we want to apply to our
Yes.
project.
Yes.
So this is the focus that we would like to know more about, how to transfer the knowledge to other people that can be training and spreading the knowledge. So this is the concept that we want to
develop.
Yeah.
Yes. And there are a lot of train-the-trainers concepts and models, as you might know, and we have had several national projects. We have applied different kinds of train-the-trainers models, and as a start, it was about 10 years ago when I first time attended a meeting and a workshop. We applied a train-the-trainers model. It was a very raw model in those days, but what was very important is that interaction between participants and our mentors. And our first experience is that mentoring process. My area is tourism, and we had difficulties here in North Karelia that some of our entrepreneurs were getting old, and they had a lot of so-called tacit knowledge in their possession. And we were a little bit afraid that there are no route to share their tacit knowledge, how to make that tacit knowledge visible and we might call very loud, so that we can apply that tacit knowledge in the future. And that was our starting point in one project a decade ago. And then we decided to create a kind of workshop, and we invited several very experienced entrepreneurs there and also less experienced entrepreneurs. And our target was to find a way to share knowledge and share their methods how to develop their businesses. And what we thought in those days, it is not necessary to everyone to create a wheel once again. And that's why we developed that our, I would say, basic model of that train-the-trainer system. And as I have written in our aim is to enable that experienced persons to deliver their knowledge and methods to those who are less experienced. That was our starting point. It is a kind of mentoring process. It is, and we wanted to give some guidelines to those beginners in their entrepreneurship. And what we found very important was that to find and to offer a very safe learning environment, because we noticed that some of our participants were a little bit afraid to not only to share their knowledge, but also to take a, how do I say, they were very shy and very uneasy to speak loud their experience. And also those who were participants or those who were less experienced, they were a little bit afraid what is happening, or what is this actually? What do you say? We think we are kind of professionals ourselves. So what are you guys who would like to teach us something? And then we had to explain very carefully, this is not a teaching method. We are not here to teach you. We are here to share our experiences. We are here to hear your needs. We are here to communicate with each other. And it was a little bit hard to find that safe and successful learning environment in those days. Nowadays, we of course have there's all digital systems. We have those our platforms here and so on. But a decade ago, it wasn't so easy. We have to collect all the participants and mentors to have that face-to-face connection and contacts. And it was a, how can I say, it was a very, very difficult learning process. Also us who were supposed to facilitate this whole process. And then we had to solve several kinds of problems there. And then we, of course, all the time ask the participants, how do you feel? How do you find our system? What kinds of needs do you have? Expectations? Are there perhaps some restrictions we should take account of? And it took perhaps 6 months, only 6 months process it was, and it was hard. I have to admit that. Our results were satisfactory, not very good, but satisfactory. And they provided us the starting point to develop that system. And after our first session, that first group, it was about 5 years after that one, we had a better starting point. We have written down our experiences of that first one session, and we developed our concept. And we tried to find different ways to ease the interact system between with the participants and between all entrepreneurs and so on. And and then we had to prepare the whole workshop in advance very carefully. First, we connect, of course, all the participants and organizations. We ask them, what do you need? What do you expect? Is there anything we should take care of? Are there any restrictions? At the first time, we didn't realize that there might be some restrictions. We were very eager to ask needs, expectations, and then we were very happy. We got several answers and so. but we didn't think of restrictions. There might be also some of them. And that is, I think, is very good to consider while preparing that train-the-trainers workshop, for example. Of course, I just have written down that a basic idea is to share experiences, good, even best practices, and of course encourage participants to take their own initiative and use their creativity and find their own training style, because there are not just one good training style. There are multiple different styles to train, and everyone should find their own system. Well, here I have written down some points that make that training session successful. And first we need icebreakers. Those people or those systems that facilitate that very open communication environment. And we have to, of course, find a common language. For example, in my area in tourism, we have had some difficulties to find common language between tourism entrepreneurs and those who are professional in. So there are some starting points here, aims, and what are the targets of the train-the-trainers models. You can read them. I have just talked about them. And I think that tacit knowledge is so very important in that project, because it is not very easy to find a way how to make tacit knowledge visible and hearable. And I think that's a main point of that train-the-trainers concepts, is that how to share that tacit knowledge, how to make it clear, visible and hearable. How could we utilize the experience of very well experienced personnel to those of less knowledge or less experienced? Yes. And of course, it is very important that we have to boost up participants' professional skills, and we have to enhance their skills, and of course to give their opportunity to speak loud their ideas, and of course share experiences and ideas and so on. And final target is to find that own training style, because there are a lot of different training styles, and there are not just one style or one model concept to train the trainers, but there are many of them. And of course we have to find that one that is very useful for us. Yeah. And now here are some points that make that training session successful. And first we need icebreakers. Persons or systems that facilitate that open forum where everyone can speak loud, where everyone feel comfortable to share their opinions, and where everyone can feel that my opinions, my comments my ideas are as valuable as the others. And this is, I mean, that this is some kind of equal system. It says, and sometimes icebreaker could be that kind of game. Sometimes we have used speed dating. Then sometimes we have a very, very, good speaker there. So it's very such kind of like, of course, Finnish people know Alfred, for example, who is very good to boost up ideas and so of participants. And it is very important for you to know your audience. Who are those I have here? What kinds of persons there are? What are their experience? Are they professional in one particular area? Are there artists? Are there entrepreneurs in tourism, for example? Or are there entrepreneurs in media? And it is very, very important to know your audience. And then you have to think of the other stakeholders. Who are those who are involved in this special session, in this particular session? And you just can't go to that session without prepare yourself. You have to make a plan. And you have to elaborate your targets, your goals, your achievements. And then what are your objectives? This must be very, very well planned, but still flexible. You have to have that plan B also, not only one plan. But you have to be prepared that there might be some exceptions, there might be some sudden questions, perhaps the environment you are in, the whole system collapse. Nowadays, your platform, we had some difficulties in the beginning of our session, so you have to be prepared with those problems. And of course the participants' needs and expectations, I have already talked about them. And all the time you have to listen to your audience, the participants. And you have to start to listen to them in advance. You have to continue it during the session and of course afterwards, because it is very important that you collect feedback and not only collect them and analyze them. You have to also answer the feedback. That's follow-up session. And it is important that participants could feel themselves important. We are not important, they are more important. And if we are together, all together, we are, of course, we are more than just person to person. It is important that you remember that the participants' opinions, they are the most important thing in that trainer-trainers system. And it is important that you can support interaction between participants. You are not a teacher or lecturer like I'm now. Sorry. This is not a very good trainer session, this one. And then you have to facilitate the interaction between participants. Not just support, but facilitate also. Make it easy to them. And you have to listen their standpoints. You can ask questions and let them ask questions. And give them time to think of their questions and answers. Sometimes I have found it very difficult to wait for questions or answers because I am very, how do you say, Timo? What kind of person I am? Very, very quick, he said. Very quick. And that was something I had to learn very carefully, to be patient. And it is important to use concrete cases and give some anecdotes. It is stories that matter. Like you know today, it is very important to have narratives, examples. And then it is important that you reflect yourselves and make it easy to reflect your participants. How do they find you? How do they find the questions? How do they find your attitude, for example? That is a very, how do you say, unpleasant part of that training session is that you have to reflect yourself. It is sometimes very unpleasant because sometimes you, how do you say, interpret the reactions of audience. It might say that you look at someone who is very, very, how do you say, very calm, or looks very not so easy to get on, and so on. And you could make a very sudden interpretation that he or she couldn't care less what I'm saying. And sometimes that interpretation is very, very wrong. There are different kinds of listening. There are different kinds of concentrating, and it is easy to say that you need some psychological eye, but it is also very, very dangerous to rely on your psychological eye. Sometimes it really misleads you. And for my own experience, I can say that that is the most difficult thing for me personally to remember. I'm very eager to interpret the mimics of audiences' faces and so. So that's why I have to warn you. Reflection is very good, but you have to be careful with that. And then feedback, I also say, I have mentioned that it's very important to collect feedback, analyze feedback, evaluate feedback, and of course you have to give feedback we say in Finnish. And of course that training session we have to follow up very carefully, and if it is possible, it is very useful to have those follow-up sessions. And of course we have to measure that training session impact. And it is not only those quantitative measurements, also we have to measure that impact in qualitative methods. and it is not very easy to find out which qualitative method is the best one. It is much easier to develop quantitative systems than qualitative. And I think perhaps it could be one of our aims to develop some very useful and very useful qualitative method to measure the success of training sessions. And finally, there are not some practicalities we have to think of, that how many are those of participants, what kinds of learning environment we use, what are our resources, how often and how long breaks we should have, and so on and so on. It is very important to think those practicalities in advance. As a tourism expert, I know that it is very important to have coffee breaks and lunch breaks. If you are hungry or thirsty, you just can't enjoy anything. That's why it is very important to make very good timetable for your sessions. So, do you have any questions or comments? Because we can continue our discussion in Iceland. I will be there, and if you have some questions to be considered there, so you can send me email or me, and of course Timo is also available there, and you can write emails to Timo and me. Yeah, Timo is nodding there. That's okay. And I can write my email here. Thank you very much. And here is.
Thank you, Tarja. I think we have some time. I think maybe 10-20 minutes for questions. So, if you allow me, I have an initial question based on your presentation. I have found it very interesting. But as I understand from your presentation, in this train the trainers concept that you have followed, is really important to follow a whole process with the final recipients of the information. So I understand that, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, and I would like to know how it works, but it seems like, for example, okay, you want to transmit certain knowledge that you already have, and you know which are your target group, but at the same time you have to approach them in advance, not going to them the first time with the sort of content that you already have, but also before maybe starting the training, or maybe before starting these workshop sessions, you contact them in advance also to share what you want to transmit them in order to get their feedback in a previous stage. Or how is this working? Because for me it's really interesting this. I mean, making them to participate also in the content that is going to be developed.
So you ask how to reach participants in advance, and
as far as I understood, that you were mentioning that sometimes there are some professionals on the field that they were saying, okay, what you are going to teach me, maybe they are a bit reluctant about that. Maybe, okay, I don't know, but maybe that they seem that maybe they know everything, and they think that maybe you are not going to teach them anything new. So how this work? I mean, I understand that there is an initial work that needs to be done with them, trying to engage them, trying to get their confidence, and also listening them in order to make this more effective. Am I right? Or
Yes, that's true. And as I mentioned, the first time we had that kind of trainer system, we didn't ask the participants in advance what they want and what they need and so on, and we didn't elaborate their previous skills, and that was our mistake. And it is very important that you know the participants and you have at least a general idea of their professional skills or their experiences or the field they are from. Yeah, then it is, of course, so as there's a system. There are not such a solid system how we ask those, how we find out those previous experiences. But of course, there were application form that the participants had to fill out first, and then we elaborate them and we put them in different categories. And then, of course, we ask those who are experienced persons. They were, of course, our mentors. And it is not a kind of teachers or leaders in those sessions. There are only mentors. And it is important that everyone feel that we are equal regardless how experienced you are. And the whole session aim is to smoothen or how to smooth and fill in the gaps between participants, or that's members who are involved in that session. And perhaps we can continue discussion about that problem in Iceland. I can prepare myself with some concrete cases. Is that okay? Hi, Tari. Oh, Madeleine is asking here. Thank you, Madeleine. And I just said that perhaps I can prepare a proper presentation for Iceland, and I can send you some details beforehand. That's of course that storytelling kind of example. That's a good idea, and that narrative system. Is it okay with you?
Yeah,
I can send you some examples in advance. Not next week, but week 43, I can deliver you some examples where I can elaborate a little bit more that system, and that storytelling kind of example, give you that kind of example. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, in the case of the conference in Iceland, if you are going to be there, it would be brilliant if you can have some intervention. We are working now in the preparation of the agenda and the activities, and the main aim of the conference in Iceland is to present the methodology, and the train the trainers concept is something that we are going to include. So of course, I think it fits perfectly, and we can have more time to prepare.
Yes.
To prepare it and having a deeper discussion on this. At the moment, maybe, well, if somebody have some short question maybe for you, and we can go deeper, or even contacting you through the email.
Yeah, of course, because this Madeleine question is quite big one, and that's why I suggest that perhaps I can elaborate our system more carefully via email, or I can give Timo my paper, and Timo can deliver it for you, to you all folks. Yeah, Timo is nodding here. No problem. Yes, that practical example is of course. And you can have that remote project. In their website you can find a session training the trainers. They have developed a set of workshop materials that are very flexible enough to be used with a wide array of trainer types. And these materials are a product of that remote project, and it is available to users in electronic format, and it is to be found in their website. Here is the link. It is how do you say, it is www.remoteproject.eu. Here you can find one example. Here there's an example of that trainers, one model, one concept. And that workshop material can be found under the title Training Material. And also a result of that remote project are available as a video.
Okay.
Okay, and of course this is it is training material. There you can find that concept of their training the trainers concept. Okay, Timo is now trying to find a specific training material. Outcomes. It is, yes. It is so. It is the main page. You can see outcomes and then training material. And here you can find this. Where is it? Where is it? Training for trainers. Outcomes training material. Now, here's the link. Direct link. Any other questions or comments? Or should we continue this in Iceland?
I suggest if there is any final question, very quick one, or if not, what we can do is what you suggested to be in touch with you also. And in Iceland, of course, we can go deeper and even maybe having a session, not for only this good practice, maybe for other ones where we can go to a more concrete example.
Yes.
And actually what we can do is an initial exercise also internally here in the project about which parts of this good practice maybe we want to know more about that, or we are more interested. For example, the point that was making by Madeleine was very good. So maybe this is something that we can work on that. So, and also if there is any other partner that have any particular interest about any specific question on this good practice, we can work to have a more bespoke presentation there. Yeah. But if you want, okay, we have 5 minutes left, so if anybody else have a quick question that could be responded in 5 minutes, if not, we can finish here. If you want, I propose this.
If there are no other questions, so I want to thank you all and meet you in Iceland.